I added up the numbers. LSU is paying like 162 million. Two former coaches into this coach, and I'm like,
Mhm.
this ain't the coach you really want.
Well, a lot of people
He'll
say that.
use a lot of the. I guess he's getting a bunch of money for NIL.
That's what they
Well,
say.
that don't build a championship team.
I get that, but they would choose to err on the side of caution because four of the last five coaches they brought in has won championships, all except Kelly.
Welcome to the squad. He's Icewater. I'm Puma. Do us a favor, like, comment, and subscribe to our page and all our shows here on Chocolate 108.1. We're going to talk about college football, college basketball. Lane Kiffin goes to LSU. We're also going to talk some NBA basketball, some NFL football, and some other surprises on what's on your mind, son, in our last second shot. Let's go to college football. Thanksgiving weekend is usually always some great games, and you're looking at Ohio State finally beating Michigan. We'll get to that in a little bit. The rankings: Ohio State #1. They will face Indiana #2 in the Big Ten championship. You have Texas A&M, who lost against Texas, followed by Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Notre Dame #9, hanging on to that #9 spot. Alabama #10, BYU #11, and Miami is #12, followed by Utah at #13. Now, Ice and I were just talking about the 12 playoff teams, and now that Texas has beaten Texas A&M and also beat Oklahoma, I'm thinking they're going to get into that playoff spot. I don't agree that they'll get into that playoff spot, but I'm thinking just with those two wins against top 10 teams and the way they won impressively over Texas A&M, who were undefeated going into that game, I think they're going to get the nod. It may knock out Miami. If Miami had a shot at it, we talked about Miami and Florida getting in there. It may knock out North Texas if they win their conference. So, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I understand you mentioned to me earlier off air that it's all about the Mannings and they want to see the Manning kid in there. I don't, when you had three losses, I don't think you deserve to be there. I just
Agreed.
really don't believe that. And you mentioned about quality wins. You talked about Florida, right? And losing to Florida, beating Oklahoma, beating Texas A&M. But then again, like I told you, my problem with the Texas A&M thing is Texas A&M was undefeated, but who did they play? You know, when you walk through it, you played LSU, Arkansas, you beat Missouri, you beat a Florida team that really shows you they were not as good as they projected to be. And their biggest win, quality win for Texas A&M is Notre Dame, who has two losses. So, and then people talk about Texas playing strong with Ohio State, games 14-7. But did you see the game? You might want to go back and watch that on YouTube. They were dominated the whole game by Ohio State. Ohio State took a 14-0 lead all the way into the fourth quarter. And then Texas scored a late touchdown. Now we're 14-7. Ooh, Texas played real good. Let me remind you, the first game of the season, Ohio State was starting a freshman quarterback. So they didn't open up their playbook because they didn't want to put him in a position where he made mistakes. So they just kept it very vanilla and just played very close to the vest, using their defense to protect the lead till late. And that's how it ended up being 14-7. Imagine if they would have done what they did recently, have done now with opening the playbook for Sand, who's done a lot of different things, the way he averages, the way he's completing like almost 80% of his passes. It would have been a whole different ballgame. But they're gonna do what they do. My point of it is we always talk about conference champions and stuff like that too. We saw what the playoff did last year, what the committee did last year with 12 teams. I say I don't know how, and I get why I'm saying I don't know how because we know strength of schedule. It's important why North Texas State can't get in if they win the conference. I understand Texas, the Mannings, and all that other stuff, but what we saw last year with Arizona State and why they reconfigured the seating because the teams that have a lighter schedule and win those conferences, nobody really respects them because they're too high. But to have Texas leap over North Texas Texas State, who had would only lost one game. And the other thing too is Texas better than Miami? I don't think so. When you mentioned about, I think the point of it, you mentioned about the eye test with the Mannings and all the other stuff. If I'm talking eye test, I'm looking at Miami. You got the transfer quarterback from Georgia, and when they're on and their defense plays right, they can beat almost anybody in the country.
So
So,
you mentioned a
yeah.
couple things. You mentioned a couple things about
Mhm.
North Texas. Are they better than Texas? I don't think so. They're not better
Okay.
than Texas. Will they
Okay.
get pull in the ratings for a playoff? No, North Texas is not going to pull in the ratings for a playoff game. And
Okay.
so the Manning factor, I think, plays here. North Texas doesn't have the strength of schedule. Like I said, I don't agree with Texas getting in. I totally agree that they should not be in the playoffs. But you know how this works, man. You know how this works. You know why Notre Dame is in the playoffs every year. It's because of the ratings. It's because of the money. And North Texas is not going to bring in the ratings or the money that this college playoff system needs. And Texas is going to do that. I think Texas is better than North Texas. I even think that Miami might be on the outside looking in. You sound like me the year that Florida State got shunned and didn't make the playoffs. And I'm like, they need to make the playoffs no matter who's quarterback, and they deserve to do that. I think Ole Miss, they're going to be hanging on by the skin of their teeth because they just lost their coach. And that's going to hurt them and where they seated. But it's all about the money in these playoffs. They're not looking at the little teams anymore. They're not looking at the Arizona States and the SMUs. They're not looking, they want money. Those games didn't bring in the viewership, the money, or the prestige for this playoff system. And it's unfair, but that's the way it is when you come to high stakes college games that are going to make a lot of money and bring in the viewership.
I get that, but I think it's different from the standpoint you mentioned Florida State. They lost their quarterback. They were
I
nowhere
know
near the same team. They were not the same team. Miami did not lose their quarterback. Miami does hit the eye test. Miami's only lost two games, so let's throw North Texas out, right? Let's talk Texas versus Miami. Let's throw North Texas out. Miami does bring the prestige. Miami does bring the eyes. The way they destroyed Pittsburgh recently, 38-7, showing you, hey, maybe we're back. Maybe we're ready to play some big time football. We've been waiting all year. So from the eye test, that's there. And early on, they were up there just like Texas was. So they've only lost two games. They beat Texas A&M in the rivalry game. So okay, great. Granted that. But then again, I think Miami, because you only had two losses, since Texas is not playing for the championship either in their conference, I would put Miami there. Sure. I just think overall, Miami, I would love to see Miami versus Texas. I think Miami would beat Texas.
So let me ask you this question.
Mhm.
What's the better conference right now, the SEC or the ACC?
The SEC, I mean, of course, that's what it is.
Yeah,
I get that. But that does not take away from what Texas has done. I mean, it'd be different if they were winning quality games in there. That's my problem with it. Quality games. I mean, you might say, okay, they play in a better league, but well, you lost to Florida, did you not?
they lost to Florida, but they beat Oklahoma. They beat
Okay.
the team that was in the top three, Texas A&M. Like I said, I'm not in favor of Texas being in the playoffs. I agree totally with you, but in the past years, what it has taught me is it doesn't matter as long as you have that star factor, and as long as you are in a strong conference and you finish strong, you get the nod. And Texas A&M, that loss is going to hurt them a little bit. But Miami lost to some teams they shouldn't have lost to. They shouldn't have lost to. And so now, if Miami gets snubbed, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm not going to be surprised if BYU gets snubbed. I'm not going to be surprised. They're not in stronger conferences than the SEC.
And I agree to disagree. And the main thing I'm disagree with you on, and you might be right. Like you said, it's not something you want to see, but it happens. The biggest issue for me, Texas lost three times.
Yeah,
What we talking about?
and I and
What we
I
talking about?
and I agree with you. I totally agree. We don't disagree, but what we've seen in the past is exactly the way I think I just said it, and I've seen it happen. And then you're going to get everybody on social media arguing, "Oh, we got snubbed. Oh, we got snubbed." And I'm not going to be surprised this time. I'm really not going to be surprised.
When we look up that list above Texas, how is it that a team that was really that strong down the road, as far as down the schedule, was that impressive? Texas have they been that impressive?
No,
Okay, you beat Texas A&M. So what? It's a rivalry game. Like when Ohio State, Michigan beat Ohio State. Okay, great. But my point of it is this team has lost 3 times. They should have lost another game. They lost 3 times.
Mhm.
When you say that, you won't be surprised. You might be right. I'm not saying you're not. But my problem is, how can you put a 3-loss team above other teams that have nobody's lost more than 3 games? They're not that. You have to be. I guess my point is, you either when you lose 3 games that early, like Notre Dame will get in. We know that. You have to be dominant down the stretch, which Texas has not been. And granted, you want to love Eli Manning because most of the media that was pumping him up and saying that the Manning guy was the number one quarterback, they were the number one team in the country. Okay, great. You want to save face, but the problem with that is this team is not as good as you may think they are. If that's the case, win the games. You lost 3 freaking games.
Yeah.
And I understand the committee makes a decision. I don't see anything on there, and you can say they beat 3 top 10 teams early that were not when you saw that they were ranked early. For that matter, hell, what if a team beat Texas? Do you go, oh man, that was that great Texas team because they was ranked number one? This preseason crap. Preseason rankings should not, and early rankings should not get you kudos or give you credit as you get ready for the playoffs
All right, man.
consideration.
We had the big rivalry game over the weekend, man. I'm gonna give you your chance to gloat. Ohio State over Michigan. You said you're not gonna gloat, and you don't
I'm
have to,
not.
but you got to do it a little bit, man. Because the coach Day's not doing it. Lord, we're gonna be humble. No, no, no. You graduated from the Ohio State University. Tell us how Ohio is celebrating, what they're talking about, what they're saying now. Because I picked them to win it all this year. I thought, and we said it last week, if they play their game, there's no way Michigan could beat them in Michigan. So I'm just going to look over to the side and let you have your thing. Go ahead, man.
Well, I'm gonna be like Ryan Day.
Oh
Contrary to
no,
belief.
no, no! You don't get to do that, bro. You don't get to do that. Come on, man.
Hey,
Somebody
I
got to do it
mean,
for him, Ice, and you the man to do it for him. Come on, man. Come on, bring it, bro.
okay.
Bring it.
Well, here's the thing. Contrary to belief, outside Columbus, Ohio, and Ohio, the Ohio State fans in this situation, are they glad to finally get that Michigan monkey out their back? Yes. Yes, they are. But on the other end, you kind of realize that, particularly in this situation, but this year, Ryan Day learned his lesson that some of the other coaches previously, the predecessors, should have learned. The majority of the issues with Ohio State, particularly in most instances, they usually had the better talent. But you go up there, it's cold. I heard everybody making excuses. What y'all gonna do when it get cold? It's gonna be this and that. It's gonna you got a young coach. Every damn excuse why y'all ain't gonna win the game. Ryan Day said, hey, we lost the last one. We know we should have won at home, right? We missed 2 damn field goals. If we didn't make one, we go to overtime. We were our own worst enemy. We tried to beat them with physicality. Ryan Day put his guys out there, and he says now we had a little adversity where we should have scored in the goal line and they were leading us, right? This time he goes, we're not falling into that trap. We're going to not just think the game, we're going to play the game. We're going to play with the vigor that we're supposed to, and we're going to play like the best team in the country. And we'll see if y'all ready to keep up. And then guess what happened? They went up. It started snowing like everybody said, y'all can't play in the snow. It's too cold. Y'all, it's all a mind trap. You're right. So he bust out the mental thing and goes, you know what? We need to just go in there and whoop their ass. And when you get a wide receiver and kids that have a little bit more ego and a little bit too much for you, you got to look too. You got 2 first-round draft picks playing wide receiver. And Tate and Jeremiah Smith. And despite all of the win and everything, Jeremiah Smith gave people the bird. They cussed him out and everything too. Dude is just a beast. He's a monster. But the point of it is, this team, along with their coach and coach is Matt Patricia as well, this team was on a mission to go, we are the ones that are going to stop this. Michigan, if Michigan would have had better talent, more athleticism, it might have been a closer game. But I think going in, Ohio State said, we are a better team. We're not going to let no crap mentally stop us. And I think that coach been into that. The other thing too is about a business trip. In the past, I'll get it off of this way. And Ohio State also knows that they're looking down the line. They're trying to get ready for the playoffs. You got a big game coming up with Indiana on Saturday, Big Ten
Mhm.
championship, and they're trying to move forward. But this was a telling thing for me when Ryan Day said, "Oh yeah, we ready, but it ain't like it was before because we know what we did wrong. We are our own worst enemy. Plus, two, let's make this what we're gonna do a little different. Usually, you take that long bus trip about 3 hours and 10 minutes, up 23 till you get to 75, and you keep going up there till you get to Ann Arbor on that long bus trip. So it's a long trip. Thinking about it, and if you lose, it's an even longer trip because you're like, man, what the? It's just long." Ryan Day said, "Let's eliminate the BS." We flying this year. We fly to every other away game. We flying to Ann Arbor. We flying up that way. And that's what they did. They came in and the business, jumped back on the plane, back home in an hour, 45 minutes. Let's get it in. They won the national championship last year, came back strong, kept building and building. I think this time, instead of making the game, it's a hell of a game. It's the biggest rivalry, and everybody know that. But instead of making it more than what it was, play the damn game and move on. Don't make it bigger than what it is. And that's what it should be every year, especially when you have the best talent on the field.
As Ice mentioned, there's some championship games coming up, conference championships. So North Texas, Tulane, that's on Friday. You have BYU and Texas Tech, the number 5 and 11 team. That's on Saturday. You have Georgia and Alabama playing the SEC championship game. You have Duke and Virginia playing in that game. Also, as Ice mentioned, you have Indiana and Ohio State. So we're looking forward to those games. It's going to be the first round of conference championship games. So it should be very interesting. I don't know if I can say there are going to be any upsets. I don't feel that way. But let's go on to college basketball real quick, man. We saw some great basketball, but that Michigan team, the Michigan and Michigan State teams, put a hammer on. I know Michigan put a hammer on Gonzaga, and I wasn't expecting to see that. I was expecting to see a closer game because these, beginning of the season tournaments are looking like March Madness, the matchups and things of that sort, and I absolutely love it. But that Michigan State team, they put a smackdown on North Carolina, who needed that game, I think, to lose it. You never want to say a team needs to lose to kind of learn, but I think they needed that game because they have, those freshmen, Michigan State and North Carolina, they have those freshmen, they're high flying, and that was entertaining to see. But I think the continuity needs to gel a little bit more with North Carolina and also Gonzaga. When I saw them, it's like, okay, they're still kind of figuring things out. And those other games that they were blowing out teams, they finally met that match. So you have Purdue, number 1, followed by Arizona. Michigan jumps up to number 3, followed by Duke, UConn, Louisville, Michigan State. You have Houston, who is ranked number 1 and number 2 beginning of the year. They're at number 8, BYU number 9, and Iowa State is at number 10. And Gonzaga is just outside the top 10 at number 11. Your thoughts on college basketball?
What we're seeing early is a lot of teams are, as you said, are developing and trying to find their way. And there's some teams that are so talented right now that if these so-called teams in the upper echelon are not ready to play, they will get blown out.
Mhm.
And I think that's the case with Michigan right now. They are finding their way. They have a lot of talent. They're very big, and they get up and down and push the ball. And you like the way that they're moving the ball right now. You think about it from a standpoint, Michigan defeated Gonzaga by 40. They beat Auburn by 30. And these are two teams that are people really excited about. But that tells you how Michigan is gelling early as a team. That same Auburn team that got blew out by Michigan by 30 defeated St. John's. A lot of people were high up on Rick Pitino and St. John's, and I don't think they're that good. That's just me. I
Yeah,
think
they're
they're
still ranked at four,
mm.
4 and 3, I think. And it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And the way that Auburn beat them, shows you that they're not ready yet. I know they get excited because of Rick Pitino's at the helm. That's one thing. The other way you look at it too, Tennessee's been back and forth. Tennessee upset Houston, and that was a very impressive win for them. But then you turn around, like I said, you got to be ready. This Houston team was ready to play, came back, and I think they destroyed another team after that. Then they beat Notre Dame, so they're going to be hanging around. But Tennessee was flying high. Then they get clipped by unranked Kansas team.
Yeah.
So you have to be ready because you never know what's going on and how these teams are flying. I think it's going to be a hell of a season. I like it already. We know Duke's going to be better. It's going to be a matter of time. So you have a lot. Iowa State is really good too. So you have a lot, and we also know too that even though they might have lost a game or two, Florida is going to be very difficult to
Mhm.
beat. They need to find their way. And the other team that you need to watch out for is because they have had a few ups and downs. But come tournament time, or even before that, midway through the season, UConn's going to be a problem again.
Yeah, they're already a problem. They are already a problem. There's some
Yeah.
key games coming up in the next couple of days. You have Tennessee and Syracuse. You have Michigan
Mhm.
and State and Iowa. You have North Carolina and Kentucky. You got UConn and Kansas. Kansas ranked number 21. USC, I got a chance to watch them. You were talking about them last week. I got a chance to watch them. They could be scary. They could be really scary coming down the stretch. You got Duke and Florida coming up in the next few days. You also have Indiana, Minnesota. You have Louisville and Arkansas, which that should be a good matchup. North Carolina State played really well in their tournament against Auburn. And then you have Vanderbilt. A lot of people aren't looking at Vanderbilt. Check them out. They're a tough team. They play SMU. So you got some really good games coming up, and I'm looking forward to those games. Also, one game SEC against the ACC. You have Alabama against Clemson. So let's see what they do with that. I also I'm looking forward to. Hopefully they still do this. The different conferences playing each other. So you had the ACC against the Big Ten or the Big Ten against the ACC. I really want to see those conference matchups, and we're in the right year, or right part of the year to see that during the holiday season. So I'm looking forward to that. So let's go to the NBA eye test, man. Anything in the NBA that you've been checking out?
Detroit is a force. I don't know how long they're going to last, but right now they have the number one slot in the East. That's very impressive. Also, too, I want to give up kudos to the Toronto Raptors, who were in the third place in the East. When you look at the challenges that they faced and the trades that have been made, offseason acquisitions have been made, you would say to yourself, there's no way in heck you thought Toronto would be in the mix right there. So I think that goes a long way from that standpoint, and it shows a lot as to what they're trying to do, and they have a great nucleus that they're building off on. The question is, can they keep it up the rest of the way? And then two, we look out west where you have OKC just being who they are. Lakers are kind of piddling around in second, but then it gets interesting. Say what you want to love, hate, or despise Kevin Durant. Along with that team in Houston, they're third. They're playing real well. You do not want to see Denver. Denver, when they have some reserves in there now that lets the Joker kind of work through things, even though they have one of their talented guys out for a while. They're still playing well. And I'm definitely surprised by San Antonio. They're coming along as well too. But I just think overall, the league is getting better. Younger players are stepping up. You get some hungry players, even though they may not be winning a lot of games like out of Utah. Utah has a nucleus of people that are just really hungry, and you do not really want to go out and mess around with Portland either, because they'll get you one night or another. So I like it. I think you got a lot of talent out there, a lot of younger talent, and just because you went and picked out a top-notch guy or off-season acquisition or something doesn't mean you're gonna win it all. I like it. I like the continuity and I like the competition.
I think Chauncey Billups was acquitted, so they may be,
I
yeah, they may be coming back. So
okay.
we'll talk offline a little bit how he got acquitted because this, all of a sudden the investigations are ramping up. after he gets acquitted. So that's all
Hey,
I'm saying.
great lawyers, man. Don't be mad. You got coin. You should have great lawyers. Come
Maybe
on.
he pulled a Gilbert Arenas. I don't know. That because that was awful quick. That was really quick. But I want to address something about a team that I knew was making a mistake on the offseason when they started signing all these old players. The Los Angeles Clippers. They asked James Harden, what's going on with the team? And he was like, oh, well, but this, that, the other, blah, 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 blah. Y'all are old. You're old. All these teams that are really kind of making a mark, they're younger. They got younger. They drafted better. They got younger talent. Y'all grab CP3. Y'all got George. You got Kawhi Leonard. They're old. That's what's wrong with them. They can't run up and down the court with these young kids anymore. So you can say Ty Lue, you can all you're old. You're too old. You don't have younger youthful players that can run and defend and play these guys. James Harden, he's not gonna play no defense. CP3, he can't run up. He announced his retirement a little bit. I mean, he figured it out. Like, you know what? I'm about to retire because I can't run up and down the court with these young kids anymore. Kawhi Leonard, like, he don't want to play. I don't even know if he plays anymore, to be honest. And Paul Poor George, he ain't been right since that injury in the Olympics. He ain't been right. Y'all keep giving them all this money, these old guys all the money. Y'all need to rebuild. Y'all need to just start trading these guys off, get you a younger team, and rebuild because you're all at 5-15 and 20 games in now. 5-15. You lost 4 in a row. It's Ben Gay. It's icy hot. I wonder
Man,
what their budget is. I should have did this on my last second shot. I wonder what their budget is in Ben Gay icy hot. Bandages, the knee braces, the ankle braces, and the massages, and the tub, ice tubs and ice and all that other stuff. Y'all are old. That's what's wrong with you. You're old, and you got Ty Lue. You're gonna get him. You're gonna get him fired. You're gonna get him fired. But you got all these teams. Let me tell you who's in front of the Clippers. The Mavericks. They're not that good. The Jazz. The Trailblazers. The Grizzlies. They're struggling. The Warriors. The Suns. It goes. They're at number 13 out of 15 teams. Pelicans are a wash. Kings are a wash. They're trying to get rid of Zach LaVine. And they figured out why Chicago didn't want him. And so you are maybe a game and a half in front of the last place teams. You're old. You're old. And I don't know, some people, we're going to do a show in the future about owners who just should sell their teams because they have no clue of what they're doing and who they're hiring and how to run a team. But you're old. You're old. You got a bunch of has-beens on the team. Matter of fact, go get DeAndre Jordan. Put him on the team. Go get go get some of the older players that used to play for the Clippers and bring them back. Do a reunion and just
Blake Griffin.
go out and get the number 1 draft pick. Just go out and just man. It's like you're old. Y'all are so old. It's comical, man.
Wow. Wow. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot,
But
man. I feel like that's the end of the show, and we should just move on. I had to get that out. When he said that, I was on the ground laughing this weekend, laughing about, oh, we just need the chemistry. No, you're old. Chemistry y'all need is more Bengay, more icy hot, more, the icy hot patch that Shaq wears, all that other stuff. And you're just old. NFL, week 13, man. And you know what I want to say, but I'm going to try to hold off. The NFL is they're masters at marketing. They're masters at marketing and keeping their product relevant throughout the whole season. And there are some teams who are not going to make the playoffs. They're already eliminated. The Las Vegas Raiders, the New York Jets, you're probably already eliminated. If you're not, the Giants, those teams are pretty much already eliminated. But man, some of the bizarre things I was seeing from seasoned veterans trying to give away games was pathetic. Was pathetic. And I'm talking to you, Matt Stafford, from the LA Rams. It's pathetic. is pathetic. Your thoughts on week 13, man?
A lot of craziness, a lot of things that just kind of blew my mind. The Bengals, the Bengals, right? How's Joe Burrow come back, bro? Joe Burrow, you know you should be sitting down somewhere. The Bengals are 4-8, but then again, he probably looked at the standings, and goes, "We're not that far away
No, they're
from."
not.
Yeah, which is really scary.
They're not. They're not. They can play. They can play their way out, win every game. They probably be in the mix.
And the Lions, what happened to the Lions? The Lions were really used to be a force. I don't know what happened there.
I'll tell you what happened to the Lions. The coach can't read the room. And what I mean by that, and I was talking to Pop about this the other day, you gotta read what's happening in the game and stop going for fourth downs when it doesn't make sense to go on fourth downs. You make emotional play calls and they're not working for your team. And then you wonder why, how you make a fourth down, try to get a fourth down play, a first down on fourth, in the middle of the field and give the team one shot to throw it over your head and get a touchdown. You cost them that. The coach is too emotional to be coaching. And sometimes, I know he's calling the plays, but he's too emotional, man. He's too emotional. And he's like, okay, my guys will get it. I believe in my guys. You don't have that team anymore, bro. You don't have that team anymore, and you can't coach on emotion. You got to read the room, read the motivation of the players, and if the defense is tired, dog tired, because they're getting dragged all over the field, you got to give them some rest. You got to give them some rest. And also, if your offense is not working, you got to make adjustments. But he's going on emotions, going on the same old plays, and it doesn't work for him anymore. And so he needs somebody to come in and just override him and say, no, we got to call this because the percentage say this, or we're not feeling it right now, or this is not the time to do that right now in the third quarter.
I
Jeez.
can see that, but I also think, as you mentioned about the coach is too emotional, I do agree that I think he needs a balance, somebody to kind of balance things for him, and I think that used to be Ben Johnson, who's
Mm-hmm.
now in Chicago. I really think that was the way. Okay, you're a little bit too emotional, you too close to it, or you're not close enough to it. So Ben Johnson will kind of smooth things over. But I find ironic about this situation is that the from the standpoint that Detroit is 7-5 and the Bears are 9-3. Go figure. Just think about that. The flip flop of he took that positive energy, and maybe it may be a fluke with Chicago, but Ben Johnson has those guys believing in something. I don't know what the hell it is, but they're making moves and winning at least temporarily. The other thing partly is kudos to Jacksonville. I still don't. I'm a little nervous about kind of putting them, pumping them up, but they winning some ball games. I've been a little nervous ever since I watched them barely beat the Raiders. That scared me a little nervous as well too. And I'll say this: I know that they put Shador Sanders out there, and he tried to do a little something, try to move the ball around. He got a little hurt. Then they brought in Gabriel, put him back in. And this is not gonna be a last second shot. It's gonna be a quick play. And they probably been said before, and I'm gonna say it again. Shador, bruh, you're a talent. We all know, and you know this since you've been playing Pee Wee football. You can't outrun NFL defenders, bro. If you feel after 2 seconds or 3 seconds, throw the ball. Throw the ball away, bro. Because the one thing where they're gonna get you on, and you already know this, because you would run around in Colorado. You can't do that in Cleveland. You cannot afford to take 14-yard sacks, minus 14, minus 15. You will never play in the NFL. And when you're patting the ball too long as well, you have to move. If it's not there, throw the ball away. I think you are an immense talent with a lot of structure in the right place. You can be okay. But these are crucial moments now in this last part of the season where you just have to, if it doesn't work, it's not your fault. If they don't block for you, nobody's open, then you say, well, hell, at least I didn't turn it over. You have to throw the ball away, bro, because if you do not, you're going to have some major issues down the road, and they already looking at you some kind of way. So it'll be interesting to see who starts next week's game because it seems like Gabriel's ready. So will they go back to Gabriel, or will they keep Shador in there to kind of just show people we know he's not the answer, and we already made our decision because we did finally let him play?
Ice, remind me what I said, if you can remember, when the Pittsburgh Steelers picked up Aaron Rodgers.
Go ahead.
I told you this is not going to end well. It's not going to end well. So here's what happened. Pittsburgh give away the two quarterbacks they picked up, and one of the quarterbacks had a 4-2 record. I'm not gonna mention any names, but he had a 4-2 record before you replaced him with his backup.
Mhm.
So you get rid of both of them. You didn't sign one. You get rid of the other one. You bring back a quarterback that you released 2 years prior to come back, and then you pick up Aaron Rodgers as your savior. I knew right then and there you're not trying to get to the Super Bowl. All right. Now he's on the sideline looking like one of the guys from the Home Alone movie who got, Kevin beat his little ass. And now they're trying to figure out, what to do as for coach now. Because I've never heard the Pittsburgh Steelers fans chant, fire Mike Tomlin. Fire Mike Tomlin. The Pittsburgh Steelers have never fired a coach, but I predict that he will step down because the Roonies are going to pressure him to step down because it's not working. The 9-8 records aren't working anymore. And I said that at the beginning of the season. Pittsburgh Steelers fans are upset and they're not settling for anything less than a Super Bowl trophy at this particular point. It's been too long. It's been since 2016 that you won a playoff game. And you got Aaron Rodgers, who a few weeks ago you said, now he had a couple of good games. A few weeks ago, we want to sign him for another year. He's washed. He doesn't have it anymore. And now here it is again. You wonder why Green Bay made the move. The coach made the move like, we got to get him out of here because he's trying to get me fired. Went to the Jets with Salah, got him fired. They made all the different adjustments Aaron Rodgers wanted. Aaron Rodgers come here to a coach that's supposed to be established in the league. Now, Tony Kornheiser and said, if they get rid of Mike Tomlin, there are 15 teams in the NFL. What 15 teams? Who want Mike Tomlin at this particular point? What 15 teams? Come on, man. Come on. I know we like these coaches. I like Mike Tomlin. But sometimes when you run your course, you run your course. And I was holding on for Mike Tomlin. I can't do that anymore. Last 2 or 3 years, I can't do it anymore. Because these 9-8 records barely getting in the playoffs and getting bounced out in the first round is not working. And so when you got the fans, I foresaw this. The fans are upset. They're looking for better. And when Aaron Rodgers got selected over Shedeur Sanders, because there was a report that if you draft him, I'm not coming. You should have drafted Shedeur. And that would have bought you some time. Hey, he's a young quarterback. We're working with him. He's going to be all right. You kept Roethlisberger too long. You have Rudolph there. He's not a quarterback. And you brought him back. When you brought him back, because he knows the system? No, he's going to be running Aaron Rodgers' system. And it doesn't work. So now it's clear that you don't know what you're doing, Steelers. You don't know what you're doing. And it showed yesterday against a Bills team that you probably gave them new life because they were struggling. They were struggling, and you gave them new life. And that defense, when you run over 240 yards on the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, y'all are in trouble. So I don't want to hear about the Pittsburgh defense anymore. I don't want to hear about Mike Tomlin and his attitude in the press conferences. Y'all are done. Y'all are done. And I'd respect Mike Tomlin if he said, you know what, we screwed up. We really screwed up. But you're not going to do that because you got too much pride. So I'd rather you just step down instead of the Roonies coming up and firing.
Yeah, that's not the Rooney way. What they'll do, as you said, they'll talk to him and then they'll come to agreement that they need to move on and he'll get a nice little package. But that's what they're going to do. But they only had what? They've only had 3 coaches in their history.
Yeah,
So,
they did that to Bill Cowher. Bill Cowher was burnt out, and step down, so we
mhm.
can bring somebody else in. And that's when you,
That shows the right. That shows the way how they show class by doing such a thing, and then you come to grips with it. Okay, I'll take my check and run.
yep. What's on your mind, son?
I have received notices from my friends in Texas who love the Texas Longhorns, and they tell me that Texas, and Puma, I had a long discussion on this before. We still continue on about Texas getting into the college football playoff. I don't think they deserve to be there. I'm not a hater. I think they have three losses. And even if they won three games against three top 10 teams at the time, which some of them were overrated because it was earlier in the season, and then people want to push out the number that the factor that they only lost to number one Ohio State, who was number two at the time, 14-7 in Columbus, when you didn't understand that the premise behind all that was Ohio State was leading the game 14-0 all the way up until the fourth quarter. And then Texas scored on the last minute late touchdown in the fourth quarter. But also you must remember is the factor that Ohio State had a brand new starting freshman quarterback in Julian Sayin, and they didn't want to put him in harm's way of making mistakes. So they used a vanilla offense, which is really structured just to keep everything tight and allow Sayin to be a manager because the defense was already playing strong enough to handle Texas. It would be a different story together. Now, all I'm saying is, I think because the factor, and you might think they're a better team than somebody else, Texas has lost three games. I think Miami, Florida has a better team. I think Miami, Florida has only lost two games. So unless Texas come up with a monumental feat, and maybe beating Texas A&M, you thought was a monumental feat, but you almost had to look at Texas A&M schedule. Who have they beaten? The only quality winner they have on their schedule is Notre Dame. So if you want to reward Texas by putting them in, I think if North Texas beats Tulane, they should get in. How many times do we look at this? I don't unless you do something phenomenal. How does a three-loss team get into the playoffs when there's so many other people that won the majority of the games? Three losses is three losses. I mean, if you played the top 10 teams or whatever, then I can see your point. Three losses is three losses. And just to put them in because you think you're going to get more ratings. And maybe it's just kind of like one of those things where it's like you want to see them get blowed out or you want to see Peyton Manning's nephew, should I say, do some great things. We'll have to see. I'm not buying it.
Yeah. Like some of the rappers were saying, some of the old folks say, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. So that's the way they operate. Sad to say, but money talks. Everything else walks. Last second shot. My last second shot is congratulations to Coach Fitzgerald. He gets the Michigan State job in coaching football after being let go at Northwestern. All I could say is, whoa, Northwestern, y'all better watch out. Y'all play Michigan State. He's gonna have it in for you. He's gonna have it in for you. But I think it's a great. He was acquitted of all charges that was happening at Northwestern back in the day. You guys check that story out. I think we talked about that a few years ago. But he landed at Michigan State right in the Big Ten. And boy, if they schedule Northwestern at the beginning of the season, it's gonna be a bloodbath. Your last second shot, man.
Yeah, he wanted me to say it earlier. I'm gonna really give it to y'all real quick again. Congratulations to Ryan Day. You got over the hump, bro. They had armed guards at your house. People was looking for you and all kind of stuff, threatening your kids. But guess what you did? You were able to take what you learned from last year, channel that in the right way, and get your guys ready, prepared to head up to Ann Arbor. It was cold. It was snowing, rainy. It was all these conditions. You all were messed up in the head. You looked like you were nervous and all this other stuff. And you had a little hiccup early on where your team struggled on both sides of the ball. But like you have done all season long, you rectified things a little later in the first half and you came out smoking in after halftime. I love your approach. I love the fact that you have a guy like Matt Patricia that can take on the defense that does not have the stars that they had last year, but they all believe in what he's saying and he knows the angles and whatnot. So some people say you got lucky by bringing in that guy, Matt Patricia. I call him that guy with your hires, but all cylinders are moving well. Not sure how far you go. Take it this way, and maybe other people may not say it from you, but someone that lives in Columbus, Ohio, and has covered the Buckeyes for many years, kudos, bruh. You deserve a salute, and you don't have to be a soldier because you faced the monster, overcame it, and now showing people that you've earned the right to be considered one of the best coaches that's ever been in Columbus. Because you faced the biggest issue and the biggest criticism and everything, everybody talked about it, and you got it done, and you're still continuing to do so. So every once in a while, you need to give people their flowers when you recognize it and not just take it for granted, even though they won't say it themselves. He's an easygoing guy. He came through the BS in the storm, bruh. So you deserve another salute. Congratulations, Ryan Day.
All right. That's our show. We'll see you next week. Take care.